Hello YouTube people, today I'll show you a crazy watch from a crazy brand that makes crazy watches exclusively. This watch is Reef and the brand name is Olto-8. And before I begin, my wrist size is 16.5 centimeters or 6.5 inches. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Olto-8 for sponsoring this small YouTube channel third time in a row. First watch they sent me is this one. It's called The King. It's a very special looking watch. If you wanna know more information about this watch, link in the description. And the second watch they sent me is this diving style skeletonized watch called Tide X. Also very special, crazy looking watch. If you wanna know more information, link in the description. And today we're gonna take a look at this watch called Reef. This watch is called Reef because the dial on this watch is inspired by the reef from the ocean. That's why it looks like that. And right now I wanna talk about specifications, and this time I'm gonna do a little bit differently because this watch does have a little bit different proportions than usual. So I wanna measure this watch in front of the camera. So this watch has Miyota automatic movement, skeletonized one, which beats at 21,600 beats per hour. This watch, together with the strap, weighs 115 grams. I don't know how much it weighs off the strap because I don't know how to remove it, but the whole watch weighs 115 grams according to my measurements, of course. Now, the sapphire crystal should be on top and mineral on the back, so let's check it. Yes, sapphire crystal on the top, mineral on the back. And right now let's measure this watch. Where do I even start? Okay, side to side measurements, side to side 40.5 millimeters. Lug to lug distance from this point to this point. Hold on a second. Yep, like that. It's about 49 millimeters lug to lug distance. Now the thickness of this watch, if I measure right there in the very center, it's 13.8 millimeters. Size of the crown, 9.8 millimeters. Not a small watch. So, big watch, how is the comfort? Well, there is no way around it. It's a rather big watch, rather top heavy, but what I like is that this watch hugs my wrist very nicely. It feels like this watch is just melted on my wrist. It's absolute perfection. There is no gaps around my wrist. Let me show you what do I mean by that. Look, the shape of this watch, it completely wraps around my wrist. But you know, this watch is still rather thick at 13.8 millimeters and 115 grams. I do notice the weight, but at least this watch hugs my wrist very nicely, and this strap feels wonderful. This is some kind of a silicone strap, that very slippery silicone strap. It's like silk smooth. It feels really nice to touch. It has those holes so that the wrist wouldn't get sweaty, and also looks pretty nice. And by the way, one interesting thing, look at the continuation of the design. The side profile of the case goes like that, and it continues into the strap. The strap integration into this watch is really nice. It's like this design flows really nicely into the strap. Now let's take a better look at the case of this watch. It also has rather crazy, intriguing design. It's like a sandwich. There is a bottom plate, middle section should I say, and top plate. So the top plate is brushed and has polished out edges, as you can see. Side is matte finish. And the bottom plate is like the top plate, also brushed, and it has shiny edges, also with those screws. These screws probably go through, as it looks like, go through the whole case. Very interesting design, and it's actually nicely done. There are no sharp edges. It's nice to touch. Every edge is nicely polished out. You know, attention to detail on this case is actually very nice. The crown is, you know, by normal standards, it's rather oversized crown, 9.8, 9.9 millimeters. But on this watch, it looks very nicely proportioned, I would say. This crown has Olto-8 logo engraving. Very interesting design for the grip. As you can see, this crown feels really nice. Very nice feeling crown. Now let's take a look at this reef inspired design, hence the name of this watch, Reef. It has this star from the bottom, from the ocean. Such stars live on the reefs, I believe. I like how three-dimensional it is. I mean, especially from this angle, as you can see, indexes are raised up a little bit. And it's like the dial itself is rather flat looking from this angle, but chapter ring going around with those indexes creates very interesting three-dimensional effect. It does look pretty interesting though. Pretty interesting. And one interesting thing is how this watch looks like in the dark. Let me show you. Because the lume on this watch is a little bit unusual. It does look rather pretty, you know, the lume on this watch. This whole star is lumed. Hands and indexes are blue and the star is green. Nicely done. Nicely done, I must say. Okay, let me turn back the light. That's how this watch looks like in a dim light. It does have certain angles where this dial looks rather magical, you know. I like this glowingness on the dial. It looks a little bit like something from a fairy tale. I don't know, it looks interesting, you know. It looks interesting. Just one light on, another light on. Maybe let's turn this one off with a little bit more contrast. I really want to give you a good look how this thing looks like in real life. It does look rather crazy, but you know, such is the goal. That's what this brand is making. Crazy watch after crazy watch. That's what they do. That's what they are known for. You know, usually my preference is actually simple watches. Crazy watches aren't really my thing, but I cannot lie. When I take a watch like this, it's still a lot of fun. I still look around and find interesting angles on this watch. And also this watch from the previous review, which you can find link in the description if you want to see. Also look at the design of this watch. The rather crazy looking thing, you know. Let me demonstrate how it flips those hours. Look at the bottom of this watch. At the bottom of this watch, that's how it flips those cogs. So, you know, interesting design. Even though crazy watches are not my thing, I'm still having a lot of fun with watches like this. You know, generally, I just like watches. Simple as that. No matter the style of the watch, I just like watches. That's it. This one also crazy looking thing. It has this rather three-dimensional effect. Also displays time in rather unusual way. This one is with a screw-down crown. It's also very different how this watch displays the time. More about that in the separate video about this watch if you wanna see. So yeah, quite something to look at, and especially on this watch, I love how it looks from behind. Fully black movement on this watch. It does look pretty cool. I mean, look at this watch. That's pretty cool. That looks pretty nice. And now this watch, well, this is probably the craziest out of the bunch. considering the proportions and the size of this watch. Very interesting watch. And just for fun, let's put these watches on my wrist one by one and let's just have some fun. Let's see how they look like. This one is my favorite. This is probably the most normal looking watch out of the bunch. But I like how, you know, at least from the side profile, it looks rather elegant, classy, a little bit dressy. But you take a better look and oh, that's a crazy thing. That's a crazy watch. Very interesting looking thing though. And it sits very nicely on my wrist. This watch feels actually the most comfortable out of the bunch. So yeah, this is my favorite. And this one looks like this. It also sits rather nicely on my wrist as a diving style watch. It doesn't feel heavy, it's not too thick. It's actually rather stable on my wrist. And does have quite three-dimensional look. There is a lot of things to see the more you look at this dial. Does look pretty interesting, and I especially like this strap. It's very nice to touch, silicone strap, and it's very breathable. It has plenty of holes, so it's very good for water activities. And the star of the show with the star on the dial. Rather crazy looking watch. You know, strangely enough, I wouldn't say this watch is uncomfortable, you know, given the dimensions and the weight of this watch, everything. Yeah, I do feel it's a little bit top heavy. If it's like if I would be wearing some kind of a diving style watch, you know. But the way this watch hugs my wrist, it's just so nice. And those holes, it's breathable. My wrist doesn't get sweaty. You know, it's given the size of this watch surprisingly doesn't feel too bad. Doesn't feel too bad given the size of this watch. And also, you know what, let's turn off the lights once again. I have shut my window so that we could get we could get better darkness this time. That's how it looks like. Very interesting, you know. Using loom on the watch as a decoration. That's a little bit unusual, but I like that. That's interesting, you know. Crazy watch, crazy loom. Also, that's how this watch looks like. And this one. And you know what? This one has the craziest loom out of the bunch. Craziest watch, and also has the craziest loom out of the bunch. And let's play with these watches from the third-person view, as if you would be, you know, sitting next to me while I wear these watches. This one is Olto-8 The King. I like the name, The King. Looks pretty good. This one looks rather dressy, and it's very comfortable watch, by the way. And it has 20mm lug width, so you can change straps on this watch easily and have a lot of fun, which I did when I made a video about this watch. This one is Olto-8 Tide X skeletonized diving style watch. Lug width on this one is 22mm, and sadly I just don't have any 22mm straps. But making video on this watch was still a lot of fun because it looks very interesting. It's a very interesting looking watch. What can I tell you for the ending of this video? Well, this watch is rather crazy and it obviously left me a little bit speechless. You know, this is that type of a watch that does the talking for itself. I don't even need to talk showing you this watch. I am just like some kind of a background noise, making some kind of noises while you look at this interesting creation. And interesting it definitely is, you know. Such is the brand. They make crazy watch after crazy watch, and that's what they do. That's their brand image. They are not afraid to create something out of the norm. They are not afraid to go over the boundaries and break some norms, and that's respectable in my opinion. And I believe there are some people who will find this watch appealing. And especially, you know, I remember when I did a video on one watch that had a case made of titanium. and I was saying that, oh, this watch is super light, it's like I presented that as a very good thing, but I still got comments telling me that, oh, it's gonna feel like a plastic watch. So that's really strange for me, but some people associate the weight of the watch with the quality. The more weight you feel on the wrist, the better quality it feels like. So such people exist, and you're gonna like this watch very much, because you're definitely gonna feel that you have something on your wrist. So if that's your thing, if that makes you feel like you have a quality thing on your wrist, you're definitely gonna like this one. So that's all I have to tell you. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.